Welcome to Craze Audio Mix. We are the heart of the industry.
Catch the craze in the house. No doubt. So check the flow, cause you know I got soul. The neighbors catch the craze, baby. So act like you know what's called catch the craze. Catch the craze. Originator, the crazy creator, giving you a fever with my boy Dreamer Medina. Weekly all the time with the newest and the best independence from the north, the south, east, and west. You got the SSS and the devils that are silent. Kiss me comics cause it ain't all about violence. Neat stuff collects in the brothers, the Dables. Crazy comics in the house are willing and able. The underground sounds from hip hop to rock. Jamming on the saxophone is my boy Philip Clark. Cause keeps it going cause you know I got to flow. The name is Uncle Sam, like you know, act like you know. Catch the craze. Catch the craze. Yeah. I'm bugging out, baby. Catch the craze. Spread the word, have you heard?
Hello, we're back with the show. My name is Uncle Sam and I am with my brother Fro. Anyway, what's up? What's going down? I am your host, Sam the Crazy Man Vera.
And this is Jonathan the Psycho Sci-Fax.
The Psycho. He is Psycho. Are you Psycho today or are you Styly today? Which are you?
I'm Psycho.
Okay, you're Psycho.
Styly, he's doing his own thing, but I'm Psycho. Styly only comes out when it deals with rap, yes. And when Uncle Sammy comes out the woodwork, then Styly comes out.
Styly don't want none of this. I don't know. Let's get into this a little bit. I mean, besides the fact that today we have a special guest on the show. Let's just talk about that for a second before we get into the whole stylomatic type stuff. You know, we have Jake Estrada, who has Estrada Media. He's an independent publisher and a print house. He's starting his company called, Estrada Media Printing, and he provides printing services for comic book publishers. So we're going to have him on the show, and there's a lot of interesting things that we're going to talk about on the show. And some crazy stuff happened while we were talking to him. It was just nuts. I mean, we had some ghosts on the phone line, and Jake, I don't know if you were in the bathroom at the time, but there was some grunts and moaning, and I was just a little confused. I was scratching my head like, what's this guy doing while he's talking to us? Anyway, besides that was kind of weird. But
I expected some guy with a suit to walk out and do a month.
I don't know what was going down over there. And but besides that, Jake, we'll be talking to Jake in a few. But let's get into today. It's been a while since we've had our commentary and had the team in the studio because, you all know that we were doing the New York City Comic Con, and we still have video feeds that we're uploading weekly from the Comic Con. So that's what's going to be coming up. So far we've had interviews with Mike Lilly and Dream Child Press and Vex Comics and a whole slew of other independents. And that's available on the show. And thank you for supporting the show. It's getting bigger and better. We noticed it on the statistical charts with all the hits and downloads and everything. And you guys rock.
Yeah, but thank you for that.
Yeah. But I want to get into this whole battle thing with Mr. Lyrical Styly for a second. Lyrical Styly. Who is this cat?
Okay. Now, we're going to break it down. We got to take it all the way back to the beginning. It's a very fun story.
Back to basics.
Yes. Uncle Sam.
Uncle
used
Sam
to be
is
part
who
of
I
a
be.
rap group, correct? That was Crazy Styles Production.
See, that's what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. This guy I've known him for years, and he doesn't know jack squat of what I've done.
I
Crazy Styles Productions. Wow. Crazy skills, all right?
Crazy skills.
The skills to make you move.
Crazy skills. And it was actually...
That wasn't the rap group.
License and everything.
Crazy
correct?
Skills wasn't the rap group.
Okay,
Crazy
you gotta break it down.
All right, I'm gonna break it down.
There's nothing basic with you.
Yeah, because you're just crazy, man. All right. Crazy Skills Productions was a production company. Exactly what it says. We produce beats, for hip hop and R&B. That's what we did. Uncle Sam was my rap name, my stage name, and that's who I was. I was a lyrical monster. I was a beast. Anyway, I was a rap artist, and I was in a group called Poetry in Motion originally. And, we released an album, a double-sided single with 2 songs. One, Sounds of the Underground, and the other one was Let's Go Dancing. And it did well, and, in the clubs and, the circuit, and we sold quite a bit. We didn't make any money from it because we violated contract because me and my former partner got into a little fisticuffs almost on while we were going to do a show on a cruise. And we were going to perform, and there's a trend. Don't mess with the Hispanic. So what happened was, we're on this booze cruise, and we're ready to go on stage, and then my boy flips, and he says, "Yo, I want 75%," but we already had signed contracts. I said, I don't care what you want. It's already done. We already got paperwork. It's done. We got the deal. We're doing shows. We had a whole line of shows lined up. And, he said, "No, I want the pop," and he's getting all crazy. And I had some stuff to drink, and I really wanted to toss him over the boat. And so then, my manager pulled me to the side and whatever. And then that was the end of it. And that was the end of Poetry in Motion. And because of that, we violated agreements. So the company, Concrete Records, kept the rights and get the money, because we didn't, we were young and foolish, and at the time you got your testosterone and, anabolic steroids in your system, because, we were playing ball and, we wanted to be strong and bodybuilding. But so I went dolo. I said, all right, let me go and try to put together my own demo. And I got my funds. I was working at United Artists. Midway Theaters and the movie theaters. Lowe's, Midway, the one 2 blocks away from Midway. Lowe's Continental, the Continental Twins. That's what it was. Yeah, Continental Twins. I worked there. Just be messing up names. It was a while back, man. It's a while back. I got to think. I'm not as young as I used to be. So I used to work there. That's how I raised the money. So I went to the studio. And I get on the bus. I had to take 2 buses to get to the studio. It's in the middle of Flushing, and I get out there, and mind you, I lived in Jamaica. And, I dropped my stuff, and then I hooked up with the former owner of Concrete Records, Angelo Fucas, who decided, he's like, "Yo, I'll fund your demos. Let's put together Crazy Skills Productions." And I was like, all right, cool. So, he changed Concrete Records to Crazy Skills Productions. We started shopping it, and we shopped it to Goldfinger Records. At that time, Goldfinger just signed Buddha, Tech Nine, and Grimm. And so one of the things that they said was I was supposed to be one of the first on there to be released. So we went to the release party at the Fever in the Bronx, where Buddha and Tech Nine were performing, and that's where I met Fat Joe when he just first dropped the single "You Gotta Flow, Joe." And I met Biz Barkie there and all that stuff, and we're hanging out there. And you ever been to the Fever? Number one, it's like Thug Central. Yeah. If you got anything yellow. If you're scared of your own shadow, don't show up because they'll eat your life. It's like hardcore. You go in there, you walk in, and the aroma in the air is nothing but Buddha. It's crazy. You walk in, you're gonna get high even if you're not smoking. I'm sorry, kids, but that's the truth. So, we were there, and I got my, I made my bones in the hood. I went to like underground places in Brooklyn. In the Bronx, I had
still say made my bones.
Man, I am old school. I had to make my bones. You know what I'm saying? So what happens is because I'm this extremely fair-skinned Puerto Rican, so automatically you're gonna think I'm Italian or Greek or something. So I had to be that much swifter and smooth with my flow than the next cat. So,
throw a line, quick, throw a line.
So don't sweat me, G. So anyway, so I had to go to these places. I'm like, yo, dude, I'm not sure if I can hang with these cats because they do this, So so my manager's like, no, you want to get the notoriety, you want to get the respect, spit in these locations. So we go, and my producer is Greek, my manager was Colombian. But if you look at us, we look. If you look, everybody on the. But if you looked at us, we look like the Beatles.
Guatemalan midget up in there too.
So here comes these fair-skinned cats coming into the hood, and and it's crazy. So we walk into these clubs, And and of course you're gonna get the skepticism, and you're gonna get the like, who, another Vanilla Ice, or that was always thrown out there because that was the epidemic. That's when Vanilla Ice destroyed hip hop. And
he loves Vanilla Ice.
And until I did my thing, that's when I got my respect, because they go, all right, cool. So it so happened was, when I would perform on stage and do my rhymes, I get off stage and all these cats would be like, yo, come in, and everybody would form a circle and everybody start freestyling, and then you just go down the line, and you would start off with that last word that guy finished. You'd have to start off and continue, and whatever story they started with, you got to continue that story. So that's how I got better. You know what I mean? So one guy would just start talking about money, and it would come down, boom, boom, and wherever he ended, like he just got robbed, and I would talk about how we escaped being robbed, and we would have to flip it from there, and then some guy. So it was almost like we all did like 8-bar verses, and it would go around, boom, 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 and it's off the top of our head. And so you create this pact of just like, friends, and I've had so many friends, and that's how I started doing it. And so anyway, besides that, I went solo with the Uncle Sam thing, and I started performing all that stuff. But then my mom passed, with cancer, and I gave it all up. My last show. The last show that I did was the one show that she got to see me do, but she wasn't there live. She got to see it on video. Because my manager recorded it. I was at the Marquee in the Manhattan, and I performed, and Billboard magazine was there. There's a lot of press there, and it was great because you go there, you don't expect the kind of hype, and it's nuts because, and even people are crazy because like we showed up in a limo. We get there, boom, boom, we're in the VIP room. They're showing the champagne. Full thing. You go on stage, you do your thing, blah, blah, blah. You're taking pictures with the press. Then you're leaving. We're leaving. So my dancers, the dancers, check it out. So my dancers, who happen to be my boys from the block, who were just skilled at dancing, who now, I'm shout out to my boy, Cope, because he is now a detective for New York City Police Department, and so he used to be one of my dancers. It's funny how life works. So we leave, and so the dancers and management go in one limo, and like me and the artists go in another limo, and there's all these girls out of nowhere, kid. And this is the first show that we got like real press and everything, and all these girls there that act like we were like Belle Biv DeVoe or something. And I'm like, you don't know I exist until the show. And then they're throwing panties. It was just nuts. And I'm like, wow, is this what it's gonna be like? I mean, this is nuts, and we haven't even touched the surface.
They don't throw panties at us at the convention.
Not at you. Not at you. But I can't talk for you, but me is another thing. But anyway, but it was just funny. But then my mom passed away that like a week later, and I gave it all up, and I just went into like limbo. But that's basically how it all started, I just never looked back. I never even thought about going back and doing any music. And, now for Catch the Craze, I do some little jingles here for our show and all that other stuff. But then all of a sudden, here comes this clown, Lyrical Stally, from nowhere that thinks that he has the skills to get me to come out of retirement, because I can't consider it retirement because I really never had it successful to be able to say I retired, you know what I mean? So it was like a spark that really didn't catch the flame. You know what I mean? It's like that, so I didn't really have that part in my life where there was more. I mean, I have video from a couple of clubs that I performed at, and I have my album and my record, covers and all that stuff. But I haven't really done anything. So now here comes this crazy little Stally, Jerry Lewis, Steve Urkel wannabe coming and calling me out. What's up with that?
Now, you gotta tell the truth. Initially, you were scared of Stally, this guy, because you tapped out. If you go to the forum,
I did not tap out.
A post where he taps out.
I don't tap out.
I give up. Yes,
I never said I give up.
I give up. Stally got the skills, and it's
Stally
over.
got the skills.
And
it's over.
They had to post up for you to come back in and come with a challenge.
When this clown Stally, Lyrical Stally, calls me out at the Big Apple, but never produced anything since.
Because of you.
Because of me.
Right. Let me tell you.
Come on. Who is Lyrical Stally anyway? Where's he from?
Lyrical Stally is from Columbus, Ohio.
Oh, shit. He's lost. It's over. Columbus, Ohio. He ain't from L.A. He ain't from the South Bronx. He ain't from Brooklyn. He's from Columbus, Ohio. Hi there. Well, alrighty then.
This is big. This is big. Y'all actually going to get the scoop on Lyrical Style because I'm like his agent.
You're his agent? Represent this. Go ahead.
So he's from Columbus, Ohio, and he's the son of a waitress and a lounge performer.
Wow.
I forgot his name. I forgot their names.
Wow.
I have the bio. He gave me this information.
He gave
He's gonna
me
be mad at me because I'm leaking it out.
You're his
but it don't
agent.
matter.
You should know this.
I know.
You gotta
I'm
sell
not
him.
the best agent. It's
Style.
Lyrical Style. He calls the shots. They ain't always on top. And he basically is very mad at Uncle Sam because he feels that
But there's no Uncle Sam.
The reason why he didn't get a deal is because they was putting up garbage stuff by Uncle Sam. So the industry was not ready for Lyrical Style, so now he's coming out.
The industry would never be ready for Lyrical Style. All right? this Steve Urkel go home. You know what I mean?
So that's why he's very angry.
But there's no Uncle Sam. Lyrical Style is not battling Uncle Sam. Lyrical Style is going to be battling the descendant of Uncle Sam. He's battling the Craze.
There you go.
And it's over.
It's over.
Before it started.
Now we're going to post the song, Lyrical Style, either Tuesday or Wednesday, because he's in the studio right now doing this thing.
Yeah, well, ladies and gentlemen, so that we all know this.
And he also
What
does
takes the Craze?
Too,
What takes the Craze? 10 minutes to drop a rhyme. Takes Lyrical Style 2 months. So it better be good. It better be good. I'm telling you, Lyrical Style better come with it because you got all these listeners out there and they're wondering what. And I don't understand you cats. You come to me at conventions. Where's this battle? Where's this battle? What's the matter with you? You know what I mean? I mean, it's crazy. It's like Steve Urkel boxing Muhammad Ali. It just don't make sense.
I gotta give credit as the agent of Lyrical Style. I had to listen to Sam's music.
Who's Sam? The Craze?
Uncle Sam. I'm sorry.
The Craze.
Uncle Sam.
I represent the Craze.
He doesn't. He told me I can never refer to you as the Craze. That was his instructions. So
bye, Mr. Lyrical Style.
And he gives you credit. In fact, let's go to the post.
I'm not going no post.
And read the post.
I'm gonna go postal. That's what's gonna happen up in here. Y'all gonna make me lose my mind. Up in here.
But it is the Lyrical Style song is gonna be up there.
So what's the title of this song?
It is.
He doesn't have one. He doesn't have one. You have to have the comeback. There's gotta be. It's like the murder. The massacre.
No,
what is it?
No, this is. He's freestyling.
Say hi to Sty? Is that what it's called? Hi there. It's me, Mr. Styley.
Look, he's not going to appreciate that. You'll go on the website, go to the forum, and he's going to respond to this because as his agent, he ain't going to be happy.
Oh, I'm not happy.
But
I'm forced to deal with this stuff. This is torment. This is
on the website. Not an Urkel picture. He's very upset about that. He initially was not going to take the challenge after he saw that picture.
If you haven't seen the drama that's going down at the Catch the Craze forum, you need to see it. And you need to participate. You need to know who. Let us know who you're rooting for, Styley or the Craze. Yeah. And I know I'm the big bad wolf because I have some background in this. I am no Nas, that's for sure, but I have background in this. Lyrical Styley is.
He was so big that he wasn't even known.
This Lyrical Styley is
like
just.
If you ask Lyrical Styley what
I don't know.
Nothing.
He's a psych major.
But it's okay.
Lyrical Styley's a psych major. And what's going to happen is he's going to drop a beat, and at the end of it, he's going to go, psych.
I can't laugh at that. I'm just that's Lyrical Styley.
And what the sad thing is that Lyrical Styley is trying to lure poor Digital Sword into this mix. and thank you, Digital, for basically saying, no, handle your business. Thank you. What's up with Lyrical Styley? Trying to get like a crew, a posse of people.
First thing, Lyrical Styley would like to make a public statement on that. He told me to say this to the public. Digital Sword, He is very happy about the lyrics that you dropped. He feels that your lyrics has emancipated all over the forum initially and indubitably.
Indubitably.
So,
yo, you just got issues.
He just loves he loves the lyrics, and Digital Sword is his people's, and he shouts out. You know, so. But it's going to be on air Tuesday and Wednesday, and I got to tell you, Lyrical Style got. But
you know what the sad thing is like, yo, my whole crazy camp is turning against the Craze. Because Lyrical Style has George the Dream Medina getting the beats, and they're working together behind the Craze, and they're forming an alliance. Yo, I'm dolo on this. This is nuts. And I have a cold, I'm sick, I have a fever, and I got all these people mounting up against me. Yo, it's tyranny. It's tyranny.
It's tyranny.
It's tyranny on the bounty.
Which is what Lyrical Style, I think, wanted. He's trying to split the camp.
That's all right, yo. I mean, I walked down, Jamaica Ave by myself at 1 a.m. I'm all right. I'll do this. I'm used to being solo. That's fine. I got you.
So this is a battle and a half, y'all. Y'all got to get on the forum, post your response.
Post the little blogs.
Check out the blogs. Listen to Sam's music. So y'all know just how
Who's
bad
Sam? It's the Craze.
I'm sorry. Listen to Uncle Sam's music.
The Craze.
He refuses.
The
Craze.
Does
not allow me, when contract, I am not allowed to refer to the Craze in speaking in terms of him. That's his words.
Yeah? So let him speak for himself. How about that?
You got to interview him one day.
Yeah? I don't think so.
He's not going to make
he's banned. All right? I refuse to let where's he from? Columbus, Ohio. Hi there. Hello there, fella. Can I perform a jingle for you? I like to compose a rhythm and rhyme.
Let me tell you about Lyrical Style.
Oh no,
he had a
He's
very
still
hard
talking.
life.
Yeah, it's a hard knock life.
He did not have
for us.
He did not get the nice, positive things like, let's say,
so he couldn't have
steak or
steak. No, he just had filet mignon.
Yeah. He didn't have the seasoning on the sirloin.
No, he just had Grey Poupon.
Yeah,
he just had Grey Poupon. Yeah,
He has had a very troubled life.
Yeah.
And from his tough, troubled surroundings of Columbus, Ohio, he have pulled himself up to be a independent lyrical.
He's an
icon.
independent woman. That's what it is.
Look, there's gonna be a picture of Lyrical Style.
Yo, I don't think you're ready for this jelly.
I'm the agent. You gotta talk to him. He's gonna wreck you though. I've seen material. I'm putting up my own finances to back him up.
Oh, damn, bankruptcy. Right now. The Chase Manhattan Bank, the Cyphex is going bankrupt.
I'm putting up the whole 50 cents.
Yo, 50 cents.
Yo. You're my boy, but I kind of feel bad.
That's all right, kid. My back has always been up against the wall. That's when the tiger comes out. Now you're talking. That I like.
I tell you.
It's a tiger.
One day he's going to come on the show and do the interview. He's going to call in to the show. And he's going to state his side of it. Right now, he's like, he don't want to talk right now. He's in the studio.
Yeah, I think he should not talk. Because I don't understand one word he's saying. I don't think he's even speaking English.
I don't understand what he's saying either. But as an agent, I got to represent what he says.
Yeah? Yeah?
I got to represent Ludacris.
Ludacris?
I don't even know what he said. Because I'm the agent. I don't know what he said. But
you represent Ludacris? What you saying?
No, I don't represent Ludacris.
You just said I got to represent Ludacris.
When he says his line. He says
Did you hear his response?
No, when he says his line. He says, what's that? Annihilate, decimate, and...
Procrastinate? Yeah, that's what he's doing because he's procrastinating. Chump.
Look,
he's a punk.
Like I said,
Stalley's a chump.
I don't know what
you got nothing for me. You got nothing. I spit on you, Stalley.
I can't believe
I spit. You're garbage.
It's over.
Garbage.
When he comes on
basura.
It's over.
I
cannot say anything against my, who I'm representing.
Patui. I spit on you, Stalley.
He even has. Did you know that he's getting together a look for you?
He's got the look. He's got the look. What in the world can make up brown girl turn
hoodie.
blue? Yeah.
His size is too big.
Yeah.
He's big glasses.
Gazelles? He's rocking gazelles? Oh, wow.
He has a shirt that says, I am the king.
Is this, I am the queen?
I am the king. shorts that are too
Hear me
big
roar?
for him,
He
and a
wear-
pair of Shaquille O'Neal.
Yeah, Shaquille O'Neal's. Yeah,
He's coming out with the
Yeah.
look too.
he'll be killed and he'll have to kneel before me. All right, brother. So
If he loses, I'm firing him.
Yeah,
I'll tell you
you're
that much. 'Cause
fired.
I don't need.
he was
that.
fired before he got hired. I don't know what the hell's wrong with you, Style this.
So that's big. That's big though.
No,
Lord,
this
Lord.
is big. All right, stop looking. So here it is.
I don't get paid enough by Stolly to put
No,
up with this.
yeah,
But
yeah, exactly. Step up to Bushwick and you'll get mush quick. So this is it. Stolly's done. I don't know what's gonna happen. The Dreamer sold out. He joined forces with Stolly. I still got the Wolf on my side, so that's fine. And I got the Animal Arroyo on my side, so
no,
that's
I
cool.
think Annabelle is rooting for
Nah.
Stolly.
The Latin crew sticks together. Anibal Arroyo is Boricua, and so am I. We stick together.
So Annabelle is not on.
And so is the Wolf.
And Annabelle is right. Oh,
We are homeboys.
I got to report that to Stolly.
Puerto Rocks can't
No.
be stopped.
The
All right?
Wolf may have to look at the post. Stolly may not be happy with that.
Yeah, man. Stolly, you can take your Argentinians and your Guatemalans, and I'll stick with my Puerto Ricans, and we'll do this. And we'll make Mondongo, baby.
He's going to look that word up.
He's going to look it up. So, all right, that's our show. After this break, we're going to be back with Jake Estrada. Tell us what you think. Tell us on the forum who you're rooting for. I know you're rooting for Stolly. I know.
You got to put in your vote.
But join in,
Gotta
man.
be
Set
heard.
it off
Yeah,
because
yeah.
this is going to be great. Because Stolly's going to come back with something. I don't know what it is. So when he comes back, it won't take me a month to get back to him. I'll spit it the next day. I tell you, I am swift with it. So he's bringing back those juices are starting to flow. But this isn't the contest, all right? I don't want any of you MCs out there want to try to battle me because this is done. It's just me, Stolly. It's over. It's Ali and Frazier going back one time.
But wait,
it's
let
over.
me tell you, Stolly is not afraid to take on any comers. That's what he told me to tell you. He feels that everybody is contributing.
Nah,
He feels
it's
like-
over.
He feels like everybody is contributing to him not being in the industry.
Oh.
So anybody got any skills? He told me after he, destroys
That's
Uncle
embarrassing.
Sammy,
Uncle Sam.
Bring it on.
It's the Craze.
he will
Damn.
take on anybody from
The-
P. Diddy.
The billboards
to-
say
to
Craze
anybody. That's what he
Styley.
said, so.
The Craze Styley. It isn't Sam. It isn't Uncle Sam. It's the Craze. Uncle Sam is gone. 1994 was the
He's
last
only
you've
two-
seen of Uncle Sam.
He's only
It's
referring
the
to
Craze.
Uncle Sam.
Uncle this.
He wouldn't
So-
change.
All right, we'll be back with Jake Estrada. Peace.
Do you like comics? Well, so do we. The Comic Book Novice. Each and every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on 1240 WGBB and AM 1240 WGBB.com. Join comic book creator Mark Torres and his panel as they examine the current state of the comic book industry and interview professionals from the comic book field. That's the Comic Book Novice every Thursday night at 9 p.m. here on 1240 AM WGBB and AM 1240 WGBB.com.
The Comic Book Artists Guild is an organization designed to bring talented comic book artists together, be them writers, colorists, inkers, or pencilers, to collaborate on a project of their choice. CAG is for anyone who loves comics and has a passion to create in any aspect of the field. You can see the CAG website at www.comicartguild.com. Be sure to look for us in February at the Comic-Con in New York City with the release of our newest anthology, CAG number 5, www.comicartguild.com.
In case you haven't heard, the fourth year of Small Press Idol has started over at the Dime Store site. Projects have begun being posted and judged, but it's not too late to join the contest if you're up to it. Projects are being accepted this year through March 25th, so you have until then to get something in and see if you can be voted on to round 2, when the public voting will begin. The URL you want to go to is www.dimestoreproduktions.com/smallpress idol/idol07/index.html to read the guidelines and get the links to new projects as they get posted.
Welcome to Catch the Craze Podcast Audio Mix. I am your host, Sam the Crazy Man Vera.
And this is Jonathan the Psycho Sci-Fi.
And we have a very special guest, as we introduced early on, and his name is Jake Estrada, and he is the founder and owner of Estrada Media. What's going on, Jake?
Not much. I was just over here doing some work, doing some pencils for an upcoming zombie story I'm doing. And I was just at my art table, sitting here waiting. And it's nice and sunny here today in Florida, but temps went down. The whole week was like close to 90 degrees. I heard that up there. You guys got snow and ice.
Yes, snow and ice, and I hate you for it. So, you and your palm trees and stuff, whatever. So.
Make me miss Florida.
Yeah, man.
I had lived out there for a year. Make me miss it.
Yeah, man. I don't miss up north for nothing. I'm just waiting for May to come around so I can go up there and visit for a little bit.
All right, so now let's give the listeners a little history about Mr. Estrada here. And let's go back in time.
Okay.
Where are you from? Where were you born?
Well, my story begins in Philadelphia. My mom, she must have got pregnant with me in Puerto Rico, and being that she didn't like the doctors in Puerto Rico, they moved to Philadelphia to give birth to me. And I was born, and I lived in Philadelphia for maybe 2-3 years. Then we moved back, and we lived in Puerto Rico till I was about 6 years old. Then we moved back to Philadelphia, and I lived there for maybe about another 12 years before moving to New Jersey for a while. And I lived in New Jersey up until, I got to say, about a year back, right around May. And then we moved, and I've been living here in Florida since then.
Right. So now, do you have any siblings?
Oh, yeah, I got. See, it's all about me. I'm always self-centered, so I always forget about my other siblings. I have an older brother. Mm-hmm. He lives in Willow Grove, PA, and he has 3 kids. And then I have a younger sister, and she happened to move down to Florida, too. She fell in love with the place, and she's like, well, I have to be down here with Mickey Mouse. So I was like, yeah, man, Florida's beautiful. So she moved down, and that's about it. That's all the siblings I have.
Right. So, given that you were more like a nomadic, and you've lived in several different locations, was there any preference? What were the differences between the locations, and what did you take with you from them? Well,
one thing I have to say about Puerto Rico, it's beautiful and it's hot, and the people down there, though, what helped cultivate and create who I am today was basically Puerto Rico in a lot of ways. But I think back how the little guys, people like most people call them jibaros,
right?
And the jibaros would be walking around with the little straw hats and the little guayaberas and the little cool shirts, and they'd be out there drinking the moonshine. And as a kid, my father would be like chilling out there with his guys, and he'd be like talking all kind of crazy stuff.
Right.
And it was just wild as a kid to me. It was something out of a movie, something that most people don't even talk about. I mean, Puerto Rico is one of these places that is an enigma within itself.
Right.
And I mean, you can drive up, you're in a city for one moment, and to me, all cities are the same. No matter what city you go to, a city's a city. But you drive right out of the city, like say out of San Juan, Puerto Rico, and you go to like a mountainside in Puerto Rico, and it's a total different lifestyle. People out there, they do what they want to. The police are even scared of doing busting criminals and stuff like that. They got to call the FBI to go down there and kill criminals and capture them and all kinds of stuff. It's a pretty intense place.
Wow.
But I love it. That's the thing about that. I love that place. I go there every time I get a chance to go visit family.
Right.
And then now Philadelphia, that was a city. When I was growing up, when we moved there after we left from Puerto Rico and we came back, people call Philadelphia the city of brotherly love. To me, that's a city. I don't know. That city there was not a kind place when I lived there. It was like we lived in this one neighborhood as a kid growing up. And people were like racist, man. They were like, "Oh, look at those Puerto Ricans over there. Oh my God!"
Right.
It was pretty crazy. But see, that made me hard though as a kid.
Right.
These people calling me, using profanity and racist remarks. And I was like, "What?" I used to go to school every day and fight. And I've always was a pretty tall kid. When I was like 6 years old, I was the tallest kid. And so I was like, "What?" So and in turn, it made me into a bully. So I started being like, man, these little kids can't do nothing to me. Started beating them up, punching them, taking their lunch money. And I don't know, Philadelphia was a place where like I think about it today, I don't even like visiting. I have family still there in Philly.
Right.
And most times I'm like, yo, man, meet me outside of Philadelphia. They're like, where? Like, come meet me over here in New Jersey, man. Come over to Deptford, New Jersey, or some other place.
Right.
Because every time I think about Philadelphia, because you just, I don't know, that area there, Philadelphia, I call it the city of brotherly hate.
Right.
It's like, it's just hard. It'll just take too much time to explain that, my dislike for that city.
I think I get the picture.
But, so then when we moved to New Jersey, we moved to Bridgeton, New Jersey.
Right.
And I finished up my high school years there. And that place, though, Bridgeton was just like, I don't know. It was a complete opposite in comparison to Philadelphia. Bridgeton, New Jersey was like a hillbilly town. People, you see these little people out there, oh, we're hard, we're this, we're that, we've done this. And then you go and you show them your game face, and they would be like, oh, you're crazy. And you're like, what are you talking about? I thought you're hard, man.
Right, yeah.
So I wound up living there for a number of years. But the one thing about that town, it was the historical landmarks that captivated my interest.
Right. And
that's where my artistic talents and my ideas for stories started to take place, because no matter how hillbilly or how thrown back they appeared, the buildings themselves speak volumes, man. You look at some of the buildings there, they're beautiful buildings, but nobody seems to have the money there to repair those dilapidated buildings. You're like, wow, that place looks like it'd be a beautiful place. I mean, like the Victorian style homes. Right. And that was one of the places that has one of the largest historical homes in South Jersey.
Right.
And so as time went on, I just started doing a lot of research about the place, found out the history and the significance that it held at one time in South Jersey. And I started talking to a bunch of historians. It was an interesting place when I lived there.
Right.
And I still have friends that I go back every few months and I visit there and talk to them and everything like that.
Right. So now, what point in your life did you realize you had an artistic ability? Were you joined ever since you were a kid?
I noticed that maybe when I was about like 8, 9, 10 years old, I started to just sit down and start drawing, and like I'll just be bored and just drawing. And I was like, hey man, I like drawing some. And then I was taking some karate lessons at that time, and then my karate instructor wound up showing me a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle comic. And from there, my interest grew even more. I was like, wow, look at these. So I started to copy the art from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and saw that I can do it too. So I just started going around, sitting around outside, drawing anything I saw.
Right. So, were there anybody else in your family that had an ability to draw? Were you influenced by them, or was it just you? And were they supportive of this talent?
Well, as my mom was always sort of artistic as well, but she's always been into arts and crafts a lot too. When I was a child, I noticed she would just see something and she just start making this and making that, and she would just start making like little knickknacks for like weddings and baby showers. And then I had an uncle who would just like look at you once and just draw these immaculate murals and these canvas-sized paintings, and he would do all kind of stuff like that. So I think some of that rubbed off between my parent and my uncle.
Right. Right. So, did you grow up in the era of Saturday morning cartoons?
Yes.
Did that play a big part?
We said?
Did that play a big part in influencing?
Yeah, in a lot of ways it did, because you know, I don't know, cartoons today are not the same. That's the way I feel.
I agree. Yeah.
And I remember like the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon.
Right.
And several other cartoons that are like, these days you wake up on Saturday morning and just got those live action kid shows.
Yes.
You're like, man, the world's really changed.
Yeah, it has. I mean, it's either that or political commentary. And You know, and like, come on, you know, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
You know, but I think it's changed from one medium to another because it's now that you don't have that to pique your interest, everyone's so focused on gaming.
Yeah,
You know
true.
what I mean? So it's like, you know, one or the other. So as life progressed, at what point did you say, hey, you know what, I want to try my hand at making my own comic book?
Well, as life progressed, after high school, I started working in a print shop. But I had gone to Votech, and I worked in a print shop for a bit, just doing other people's print jobs. And then I left that job and went to the Daily Journal, worked in a newspaper, just working on a web press. And I just wasn't happy. I was like, man, I should do more than just doing this. So I went back to college, and I got my associate's degree in multimedia design. And I was just doing, you know, jobs for other people. People would come up to me, and I was working in these places doing freelance work, and then I had an actual job doing that, doing design, graphic design, and designing logos and things like that. And as time went on, I had forgotten about comics. I hadn't collected comics maybe like 3-4 years, and even longer probably. And one day, I saw some guy, and some guy was like, "Hey man, I haven't seen you in a long time." I'm like, "Yeah, I've been working over here." And he was like, "Well, here, man, here's a comic." Started looking at comics, and that's where my interest started. I would say that's back about around 2000 when it started piquing my interest. And I started thinking about making a comic book. So I got talking to my cousin at the time, Jerry Estrada.
Right.
And I was talking to him, and he was like, "Hey, why don't we do a Pedro Abizo Campos comic book?" And this is back in 2000. I started thinking about that. So we started toying with ideas, doing things like that. And that never came to be originally back then. And he got lost. He did whatever. He was all over the place. So, and I just kept on toying with ideas. And then about 2 years back in 2005, that's when I officially, it was even before that. It was about 2004. I sat down like, no, I'm going to do this. Let me just go into the indie press, small press, and start working on my own book. So it took about a year to gather all kind of ideas. I went through old scrapbooks, old stories that I had written down, and I went with one story that my father had inspired me to do. But basically, that's what became Bocas.
Right.
Book that I first threw out, and when I got that together, I did that real fast. I did a cheap logo, hand-drawn logo, which now I think back, I'm looking at it like, oh, that's disgusting what I did. But I went to Kinko's, and I just threw the book out, and I just threw it on a label on top of the bootleg version. I was like, hell, man, people do that with movies. Come on, bootleg movie, I come on, a bootleg comic.
Right. So, given the fact that the independent market is so challenging, it's so frustrating, it's basically you're destined, the consensus is that you're destined to fail. And if you look at the statistical history of independence, you know, the majority have fallen. Why even try?
Well, I still do freelance work, and I figure, what the heck? I mean, it's better to do something and try and keep working at it, even if you're going to fail. At least there will be no sorrow and no sadness in my heart, saying, well, oh, I should have and I should have not, and I didn't do it. So at least if I do fail, I'll be like, hey, I went out, I did it, I had a little fun, I made a little bit of money. Hey, what can I do?
Right.
I had fun.
Right. So, what did you get out of, or what did you learn from creating Bocas that allowed you to move forward and continue to make new products?
Well, what I learned from Bocas is that it's very hard work. It's not as easy as it appears. That's one thing. First going in, I'm like, oh, that's easy. I can do that. Second of all, I found out that printing it could become very, very cost effective, and also protecting your own characters and your own, your trademarks and everything like that. You have to make sure everything is protected. I mean, it just turned out to be a very long, tedious task.
Right.
And I was like, wow. And when I finally got it out, I was like, man, I really did learn a lot, because it was like for starters, like there's a lot of people. Oh yeah, I'll buy a book from you, this and that. You know, you release a book that no one buys it.
Right.
And then you're like, oh, okay. Most people are going to be talking to you. And then another thing is the distribution issue. In the beginning, when you start building the book, you think, wow, I'll be able to get distributors to pick this up and sell it and this and that. They're not going to pick it up. They're not going to even give a chance most times for most startups a chance to even breathe.
Right.
And it made me, once I released the first issue, it made me rethink a lot of stuff and made me look back, and it actually made me learn. And it was a very, 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 very challenging time in my life, I would say the least.
Right. How so?
Well, the challenge was could I get this out, and could I get people to recognize and look at the book? And that itself was like me screaming against a brick wall. And I mean, one day I was like, enough of this. I'm going to go into the newspaper and I'm going to tell them, look, you're doing interviews about this guy and that guy. You're going to give me an interview. So I went in there and I exactly said that to them. I'm like, look, why don't you give me an interview? I'm right here. I've lived in this town for a number of X amount of years. I graduated from high school here. I'm Hispanic. I'm Latino. I mean, most of the people here are either Mexican or some other Hispanic descent. I'm like, there is a little market here, and I have my book being sold down in the little bodega over there. And they're like, really, you do? So they went down and looked, and then they want to give me a call back, and they wound up saying, all right, we'll give you an interview. So I wound up getting an interview in the Spanish paper, and I got interviewed in the English paper, and that was a challenge itself. That made me grow, man. I was like, wow, you can make a movie. And that actually did help sales, too. Once it was in the paper, people started ordering from my website, and then people even called my house, and they were like, hey, we want to pick up your book. And they want to put it in their little shops all around Bridgeton and the Vineland, Cumberland area.
Nice. Now, but you did say that there was a problem with distribution. Did you try to solicit to a distributor?
Yeah, I went and I sent to I sent it to Diamond, and Diamond turned me down flat out. Like within about 2-3 months, they sent me a letter like, sorry, at this time your book is not suitable for Diamond. And then I sent it to a few other distributors as well. The names escape my mind right now. Right. But they're like within the magazine, and they do like newsstand editions and stuff like that. So I sent them out, and they just flat turned out. And I was like, well, I guess I'm gonna have to try to distribute myself, and that's what I ultimately ended up doing.
But what was the challenge in that? Were you successful? What did you accomplish?
I wound up being successful distributing myself, but I wound up, for the very first issue of Bocas, I wound up selling by myself close to about 600 books.
Right. Mm. And this through self-distribution?
Yes. Just going from one place to another place, just driving there, showing them, going around, say, look. And I was going into a lot of Hispanic little shops, a lot of mom and pop shops. I'm like, look, I got this book, right, and this and that, and talking to them, and they're like, okay, we'll buy a few, and they wound up buying a few, and then I would go to another one, and just kept on going. Right.
So now you've moved on. You went from Boca, and you started to, and you developed. It's unique. You put something on the forum, and you mentioned something about that you're doing a political piece, basically because it's about Pedro Abuso Campos, and he's a freedom fighter for Puerto Rico. Yeah. Why did you want to go that route?
Well, some of the elements when I started Boca, some of the elements of that story signified or resonated from that era in a way, and I really wanted to do a Pedro Abuso Campos since the year 2000. And, that's a guy there. He stood up against the United States, and he fought against the United States. He saw the United States as a big conglomerate monster that was consuming the island and destroying it and using the natural resources for their own gain, their own personal gain. Meanwhile, education on the island was suffering. People were losing their own identity. They were imposing English on the citizens, they weren't even spelling Puerto Rico right. They were spelling it Puerto Rico, Porto Rico. And I mean, and this guy, he had served in the military during the war for them, and they threw him into a black regiment because he was Puerto Rican. They treated him like a second-class citizen, even though they were saying he was a citizen of the United States. And I mean, they gave the guy no respect. And this guy he had a doctorate from Harvard. He was an attorney. He was a scientist. He could speak 7 different languages.
I noticed.
He was he was a marvelous person during his time. He was somebody that a lot of other Puerto Ricans that feel bad about themselves. They're down in this sort of ghetto type mentality. Should look up and see this guy as a true icon. I mean, African Americans have their icons: Malcolm X, Martin Luther King. We have our own, but he's like a forgotten hero, an unsung hero to many people.
Right.
I mean, when people look back, they say, "Oh, he's a terrorist," and this and that. But so you could even look at many of the other historical figures. If you think about it, anybody could be considered a bad guy. But this guy also did many good things, and that's what I try to focus on my little historical book there. I mean, I do mention all the little things and all the other people he were associated to because they were trying to break off from the United States and make Puerto Rico their own sovereign nation.
Right. Right. I mean, and for those, I guess, who are not familiar with him, I mean, he did graduate from Harvard. He attained a law degree. He also had a degree in literature, philosophy, chemical engineering, and military science. And,
Yes.
And I mean, he was fluent in English, Spanish, French, German, Portuguese, Italian, Latin, and Greek. That's freaking outstanding. That's phenomenal. You know what I mean? And you know, I mean, that's one of the things that when I saw that post, it piqued my interest.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I said that's pretty unique for a small press or independent publisher wanting to take that route. Now, you are doing all the writing and the illustrating for this project, right?
Yes.
Okay. How is it? How do you feel? Is the project complete?
Yeah, I want to make a short 28-page story out of it because I was like, well, you know, being that I'm a small independent guy here, I figured, well, let me just make a short story that just gets the gist of who he was.
Right.
And I do it in a first-person perspective. Basically, it's like Pedro Albizu Campos narrating his own story.
Right.
And I highlight all his accomplishments, and I also throw in a few of the things that, you know, he did as well that may not look as good either, but I wanted to show people who he was and throw him out there, and I figured this would be enough to make somebody go out and make their own research.
Right. Right. That's the part that I found curious is you decided to go the route of doing, basically covering a historical figure and doing a comic book based on it, but then you limited it to 28 pages. Do you think that you are going to capture enough to get the reader interested? Do you know, what does those 28 pages, what does it, you know, encompass? What's in it?
Well, in the beginning, it's basically the first page opens up and it talks about where he was born, and it goes into how he grew up and how he felt against the forces when they first came there after 1898, and how he felt about that. And then I go and show his accomplishment and show where he went to Vermont, and then he went to Harvard, and he went and he got his education. And then I also go and I go talk about his time and his rise in the Nacionalista Party, and I also cover his time in jail.
Now, I don't mean to cut you off, but are you able to successfully capture one of the things I look for when I'm reading a project or when I'm in a film is being able to get lost into the film and get it. Is this more of a flashes of images or and I guess flashes of history time frames just to get readers more interested because, or are you elaborating? Because if you're going to give a timeline, I would think that 28 pages would be a little limited. But I did read that you said that this is just the first part of future projects that you plan on doing regarding.
Yes, I see. What I did there was basically I threw out the first 28-page book and I figured that's it for right now. But I do want to go back in the future and go back in certain specific time periods of his life,
right,
and elaborate much better because there's no way that 28 pages can truly speak about who he was. But the 28 pages is enough, I believe, and I feel, because I have sold about 100 copies already, but I sold it to Bariqua.com. I sent them a copy, and they loved it. They're like, yes, we'll put this in our online store. So I sent them out copies.
All right. Dwayne went.
And
go with.
And I wound up throwing out a bunch of other copies elsewhere too.
Oh.
And they wound up telling me that it was great because even this guy that had the site never even he heard about him, but he never did any research about him. He said that book there made him go out and do his own research about Pedro Bizarre Campos.
Right. I mean, I know just from what you posted on the Craze forum, it triggered me to go and just dig more and look into it. But I don't know what that. We're getting some interference feeds. I don't know where that's coming from, but I guess my question was, all right, doing a piece on a real life person. Did you have to get permission?
Well, I tried to use context that people that I knew that supposedly knew his family, and I dug and I asked questions and I asked the lady, and then from there they wound up saying, and then I wound up talking to that led to a dead end. So I wound up talking to an attorney, and the attorney was like, well, just go and do it on unauthorized biography. Just make sure. You just use what's the common knowledge. Just don't go out there and start making elaborate lies.
Right.
So I was like, okay. So once I got that set of information, I went out and I made sure to specify it was unauthorized. He just went and started working on it.
Okay. Now, there's a twist in what you're doing because you decide you're publishing independently, but then you decide to go and become a full-blown printer.
Yeah, I did because one of the things that I was also facing was that, I'm a person, I like doing everything hands-on.
Right.
And I like seeing the final product. I like working on the final product. And I used to work in a print shop and doing my own printing. So,
is that, hold on one second, is that your line or is it ours?
I don't have another line. I don't know what's going on here.
I think it's the spirit of Mr. Campos coming through.
Yeah. It's ghosts coming out to get us.
This is freaky. This is a first for Catch the Craze, that's for sure. So, all right, you know what? Hold on one second. Okay, we're back. So you were saying about printing.
Yeah. So I'm a hands-on guy, and I like to work on, see the final product. And I went through several different printers from, quick on-demand centers like Comic Express and Kablam, to using other printers as well, like one in Maryland that I wound up doing my magazine that I was doing, which is like a free magazine I was giving out at con, and I printed out like 500, and I just was never happy with the quality, and plus I was never happy with the turnaround times either.
Right.
I mean, you would talk to these people, and these people would just ignore you.
Right.
You heard, that's actually something that we've heard many times.
Yeah, so I went out and started doing it myself. And I got the machine, got the equipment, and I just started doing it for myself. And I started just talking to this guy, Nino.
Right.
And Nino was like, wow, you can make that into a business. I was like, you are right about that. So I wound up thinking it over for about a week. excuse me. I thought about it for about a week, and then I went up, throwing my hat into the ring, and just started to announce it to people. And I have done a few jobs for a few people already. And I'm working on a project with Nino right now.
Right. What project?
Well, it's for his character, you know, the unbelievable laundry detergent man.
Right.
And he doesn't want me to reveal it to you. I told you I was going to have an interview with you. He's like, make sure you don't tell nobody nothing about it. I'm like, all right, Nino.
Even me? Nino?
Oh,
Nino? You don't want to tell the Craze? Wow. All right, Nino, I know your number. That's it.
He was like, keep it a secret. I want to wow everybody.
You're dead. That's it. I want his family dead. So, yeah, because I noticed that you had something going on the website and where you had like a cross bio project, and I guess it was like your character and Nino in there.
Yeah.
So, are you afraid, given the fact that you are establishing yourself as a independent printing company? Can you handle? Are you afraid to get a lot of requests, and can you handle that? For instance, if you out of nowhere you get 30 different publishers calling you and saying we want this amount of units, can you handle that kind of workload?
To tell you the question right now, I believe I can. And I mean, I'm not scared. I mean, there's no fear about that. And I believe I can. But ask me that question maybe in a year from now, and I'm gonna be like, oh no.
Right. Because I'm looking at your rates and they're extremely reasonable. And do you have sample products that?
Yes, I have sample products, and which I've been mailing out to plenty of people to show. And I've been sending them my own books, which I've been using as well, and a bunch of other people's books that I've sent. But I particularly like sending my own, so I don't step on anyone's toes. And so if anybody wants any samples, I'm more than willing to send them out to them at any time.
Okay. And if they wanted to find out more about your printing services, where would they find it?
Well, they can either email me or they can call me, which is soon I'm going to be listing my number on the internet. But I haven't done that yet because this is my home number. I'm getting in the process of buying a cell phone directly for the business. Okay. Because that's another problem that I noticed with a lot of these print shops. They had no telephone number.
Right. Yeah.
And you're like, come on, man, that's no way to conduct a business.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's one of the reasons why we stopped using ComExpress, because of the response time, the turnaround time, and the no way of contacting a human being.
Yeah. I mean, that gives you a cold feeling in your heart. And you're like, oh, man. And another thing that I'm also developing, for the business, too, I'm coming up with a calendar. I'm gonna soon put it on the site. And I'm going to show, because there's a few days that have to go away. So, I don't want to get jobs. And people are like, you're not responding back to me. So I have a calendar system telling them when I'm there and everything like that.
Right.
Nice.
Right.
Very good idea.
Right. So how many orders have you received so far?
I've received so far since, I'll say it's been about a week and a half, 2 weeks since I debuted with it, about 10 orders so far. But a lot of people are reluctant to use me because, I'm new, and they're used to Comics Express and Kablam. I mean, I don't blame them.
Right.
I mean, it's like people, once they get used to one service, they just don't want to stray from it.
Right. And, and there have been other smaller printing companies that have started and disappeared in the middle of somebody's, order, and, there's been a lot of negative history in that, so I can understand people being skeptical.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm trying to change that because, I've been floating around on the internet for a while, and I figure slowly people will come to realize that I'm not this shady cat.
Right. So, hypothetically speaking, an independent publisher contacts you and say, hey, I need 300 units. What's your turnaround time?
My turnaround time is, all right, I get the order. Granted that the order all the specs are correct. The payment, everything, all the specs are done. Everything is set straight. There's no problems with the files. I would say it'll take 1 day to print the job. So I'll say about 3 weeks. Not 3 weeks, 3 days.
3 days. So you're saying
3 days.
That's from printing to binding and packaging.
Yes.
That's a very
So
that's right now too.
Right.
Granted that I'm just out of the door.
Right.
But that's why I also made a preference on my site though, that if anyone has, because I know people are going to start coming soon, and they're going to be running to me, especially during con season.
Right.
And in con season, they're going to be like, I want it now.
Right.
And that's why I put on my site, if you want anything done before con season or any particular thing, you should send it to me 3 weeks before the actual event's going to happen. So that gives me a leeway as well.
Right. Right. Because by you telling an individual, I can have it completed in 3 days. So you would say you'd have it in 7 business days or whatever the case is. You also have to take into fact that there might be other clients. So
yes,
you still have to service all these clients. So they think that 3 weeks is a legitimate.
Yeah.
It's a realistic, time span.
Yeah.
So what's the future hold for Estrada Media?
What do you say?
What does the future hold for Estrada Media?
Well, what the future holds is more titles coming out. I'm looking to work more on Hispanic historical characters, and Bocas is still coming out. I just released. I got like I told you, I have a zombie story that I'm working on.
Right.
And that zombie story is a political zombie story. I'm making fun of today's climate with it and everything. And so what I look for and what holds in the future for the business itself, that I'll be here for another year, and hopefully I'm here to help other people out and share my story with them.
Okay. Now, what advice would you give somebody who's trying to, break into this business?
I would tell them to take their time, go and do their research, talk to people. Internet's a valuable tool. You type in someone's name, and you go and you sit around and you ask questions. Just don't jump in there without asking any questions, because there's a lot of shady people out there too that will take advantage of you.
Right.
Just think with your mind and act with your feet, and make sure to do your research, because you could release a book. I mean, people come into this business thinking they're going to sell 10,000 units. That's just not going to happen.
Right. Right. So any final statements you want to share with the public?
What you said?
Any final statements you want to share?
I didn't hear you. Sorry about that.
Is there any final words you want to make, share with the public, the listeners?
Oh, yeah. My doors are open. Come, and why don't you ask for a few samples, my friends, and try out my printing service.
There you go. And thank you, Jake Estrada.
Thanks, man.
Thank you. We had the pleasure of meeting at the New York Comic Book Spectacular, and and we've been in contact since. And I'm glad that we caught up again on the comic space, and we'll be watching your business progress. And we wish nothing but the best for you.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Philip Clark, Dream Child Press. You're watching Catch the Craze podcast.
That's what Wonder and you're watching Catch the Craze. And you're watching Catch the Craze podcast.
Why are writers, publishers, artists, animators, and musicians running to Catch the Craze podcast audio mix? Because we deliver each week, all the time, on time. A show dedicated to the small guy. Visit us online at www.catchthecraze.com for more information, or download us through iTunes. See you later, baby. We are the heart of the industry. Catch the Craze.
Show the crazy look! Show people! Watch the show, man! Watch the show!